Right, welcome along. What a week it's been. We're going to get some insight into obviously what has gone on. Welcome to ShrimpsNet, the podcast of the Shrimps Trust on behalf of Morecambe FC. Joining us, we've got our usual guests, down with the young ones. Our youth correspondent, Joel, welcome along.
Thanks, Freez. I think one of our guests is actually younger than me, so
Yeah, if you can't see this on YouTube, you can play guessing games now.
It's certainly not me.
Our regular boardroom guru and regular contributor, and the man who is our fixer, Charlie Appleyard. Charlie, great to hear from you again.
Evening, Freez.
And also, we're also delighted to talk to our two most recent signings, as many people will already know, who've made a significant impact in a small game in London last weekend. So welcome along, Jacob Bedeau and Trevor Carson.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having us.
So where do we start? Well, there was a little game took place in North London last Saturday where this League One team ran Spurs pretty close for 74 minutes. Joel, you were there. We shared a pint before the game. What are your thoughts?
yeah, really positive performance. Really, I think I think looking back at last season when we had a couple of good cup draws, we had Newcastle, and we had Chelsea, and especially the Newcastle game, it was a bit of a humbling 7-0 and 4-0, and while the 4-0 against Chelsea we kind of held out pretty steadily. It was, we were pretty much camped inside our own half. It was something like 85% possession for Chelsea, which was pretty mental. But this time, we really held our own a lot more. I think we gave them a right go. We had a couple of good moments going forward. And then kind of gets the goal from a corner. Suddenly, you're thinking, oh my God, this can actually happen. Half time was eventful. Lots of fun in the concourses back in the stadium. But yeah, it was a shame not to hold out. But at the end of the day, that's what happens. They've got good quality. They had to bring on Kane and Moura. The Premier League players, they've been keeping the ball and moving us about all game. Legs are going to go, and cracks will start to appear. And I think that's just what happened in the end. But I think what we can say from that is the whole team comes out with their head held really high from that, because they made Tottenham, a Premier League team, go all the way and bring on the likes of Kane and Moura to eventually get the win. So really happy with the performance. I'm sure we'll talk about more with Jacob and Trevor. I thought they were brilliant coming into the side, and O'Connor was brilliant as well. So yeah, really positive performance, and hopefully it bodes well for the rest of the season.
So I'll start with Jacob. Jacob, you made your debut. That's really been thrown in at the deep end, and I suppose the one stat that you could point to was that it was 1-0 when you went off, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a great experience for that to be my first game down at Tottenham in that stadium with all the fans. So yeah, it was a really good experience, and I think it was just kind of my fitness levels. I started to tire a little bit in the second half, so the gaffer kind of thought it's probably best to get fresh legs on at that point, which is probably the best thing to do, because those Premier League players are so fit, they can keep going and going and going like they did. And I think we just got a little bit tired towards the end. So, yeah.
It was quite funny with Jacob. I saw he was right. I was on the halfway line. Jacob was going for an energy gel, and everyone was so knackered trying to throw it to him. And it took about 5 minutes to get there, and he had it, and the gaf's like, "Oh." He's running himself into the ground for 6. So he's running so hard. I mean, one thing Morecambe Football Club fans want is people to try hard and play hard. And you definitely did that, mate. Really, really impressive. And I'm not surprised you were knackered. It was a big pitch. And
yeah, thanks.
Really, really well.
I think it was, I went on a little run, midway through the second half. And I can't remember who tackled me. I think it might be Ndombele tackled me on the halfway line. And I was like, I've got to get all the way back in now. My legs were going. But yeah, it was a good experience and a good game.
That was actually, they actually featured that little run on Match of the Day, didn't they? Which was good. So I was quite happy with that.
Yeah, I did see it, to be fair. And I think we, as a team, we kind of did ourselves proud in the performance we gave.
I'll come to Trev now. Trev, a lot more experienced and played in some massive games, both for clubs and Northern Ireland, and obviously Scottish Cups, etc., etc. But it's still quite exciting to go to a brand new stadium and play in the third round of the FA Cup, surely.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like most of the boys, it was my first time being at Tottenham's new stadium, and for that to be your first game, it's you say chucked in at the deep end, but I seen it as the opposite. It's a perfect game to go in. There's no pressure really on you. You've got it's occasion like that for players like us playing in League One. It's we'll maybe not get the chance to play at a stadium like that again. So it was all about taking it in and enjoying the experience, but at the same time, I think more so at halftime when we come in 1-0 up, it's like we're not here to make up the numbers. We've got a great chance to have a go. And you look back, and there is a sense of frustration, which sounds crazy, coming away from Spurs and you're frustrated, but the goals were all preventable, and you look back and you think, what if? And we probably would have went down in folklore, Morecambe players if we had come away with the 1-0 win. But listen, there was so many positives, and personally as well, to get a first game in a while, and bet him with the team, and I was expecting to be a lot more busier than what it was, and the lads in front of me were exceptional, to a man. They stuck to their jobs, and all round, I think as a team, we've done the club and the town proud.
Very much so. From a supporter's point of view, and Joel and myself met up before the game just to share a shandy, honest, and it was a fantastic atmosphere both before, during, and after, wasn't it, Joel?
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. For me, so I come into the stadium and there's loads of singing everywhere, and the little pint machines that do the pint up from the bottom. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was just such a good atmosphere, but even good spirits. I think it helps the previous result against Doncaster kind of set things up nicely for that. And then from there it was just really good. And then just seeing the new players bed in and the whole team just dig in so well in the first half and take the lead into half time. It really was an absolutely brilliant atmosphere, and I think it was quite nice to have the safe standing as well, because
yeah, I agree.
Just being able to, does give you that chance to kind of create that atmosphere a bit better. And then looking back at the videos of the goal going in, I listened to the Football Cliches podcast. They played the raw from the goal going in because they thought it was such a good one. So amazing atmosphere. It's a day I won't be forgetting.
And Charlie, you were obviously, as you said, sat in the director's box at Tottenham. So you've got a completely different experience to the one that we got behind the goal, but one is just as
probably not as good.
Not as good, really.
No, it was great. So something that I would add to Trevor and Jacob is we get to the third round of the FA Cup every year now. We play Premier League every year, so stick with us. 2 years in a row, we're going 3, 4, and 5. You are under pressure now because you played so well in your first game. We've got a big game on Saturday, so you've got to play that every game now. So you've set the bar high. Yeah. But I think the replay thing was a big. I've heard a few people talking about it. I think we had 12 minutes to go when we had a replay after 90 minutes. It would have seemed it might have seemed a bit more possible. But if they knew they were going to be run around by Kane, Moore and Skip for another 30 minutes, I think it was a bit unsustainable. I think because everyone had tried so hard. Ryan McLaughlin was absolutely gutted at full time. I don't know if you saw it, but he went. He was walking, and Durham was like, "Go, gone."
Yeah.
But he tried so hard for so long, and then Muro, one of the best forwards in the world, it was fresh legs. Just you can't blame yourself for that. He tried his heart out.
No, you can't blame anybody for any of it.
No.
It's one of them things.
He was magnificent, and. He's been playing centre back for the last 5 or 6 games. He's not even centre back. He's doing fantastic.
Yeah,
but,
I thought
Daniel Levy was really angry.
Yeah, he was. Speaking to him after the game, he was obviously devastated, but as you rightly said, he was outstanding the whole game, and me as well. I was very disappointed with the first goal, and it's for maybe half an hour after the game, it was I was down and I was thinking if I'd hadn't went in, would we held on a bit longer? And it's just not. I think that's the type of dressing room we've got already. I've sensed that. It's just a bunch of good, honest lads, and we both sort of knew that we could have done better. I think every goal was preventable, but every goal doesn't come from just one mistake. There's 1, 2, 3 mistakes maybe leading up to it. So it's you win as a team, you lose as a team, and trust me, all the lads got round Ryan, and he's definitely ready for the weekend again.
I don't think anybody believes that Harry Winks meant that to go in. That was
he didn't mean it.
It was a cross.
I reckon you can dissect it as much. I've watched it numerous times back, and I know what went wrong in my head at the time. There was a couple of balls in the game where I thought maybe I could have came. Maybe there was a corner first half. I thought I should have been out for that. So it was in my head. Second half going out. I'm going to come and threaten it. So I was on the front foot, maybe just a bit too much. I took that bit of an aggressive step, and maybe at League One level you get off, because it doesn't come in with the same pace or quality, and you maybe have time to adjust. But by the time I sorted my feet out and tried to get a step back, it was in the back of my head. But listen, these things happen. I haven't played near enough football as much football as I would have liked to. But I'll learn massively from that, even going into Saturday, and I put it down to not playing every week and just a little bit of maybe overconfidence or over eagerness to go and affect things and come and deal with balls. Yeah.
So moving on, we're looking at the whole picture, and I'll come to Charlie again here. 40,000 people there, which is the largest crowd that Morecambe have ever played in front of. Just about 250 more than was at Wembley when we won the playoffs in 2007 to get into the Football League.
Yeah.
We've done ourselves proud. The fans turned up in force, and that money is going to be a lifesaver for us, isn't it, Charlie?
Certainly is, and we're building the positivity. We had a bit of a bad run of form, obviously. Crew game was a low. Half time at Doncaster was a low. So if you know, lads, but we were losing 3-0 at half time game before he came along, and run 4-3, and that's momentum builder. Spurs momentum builder. Everyone's feeling good about Saturday, and we have we have needed reinforcements. We did bring a lot of players in very, very quickly. A lot have worked out and did fantastic. Some haven't worked out as well as want them to, but we're open about that. And you guys, I'm not just saying because you're on. The biggest positive for me was having you guys play so well and give us a lot of hope for the second half of the season, because we've just hopefully we've got to get 4 or 5 more points. I had a meeting with Stephen last week, half yearly review. He was right. We're about 5 or 6 points less than we thought it would be. We make that up by winning the games we've lost by the odd goal, which you guys can help us with, and some other reinforcements. Hopefully, we'll be all right. And I think everyone just believes that, and we're all behind everyone in the club, aren't we, boys?
I think, from a personal point of view, obviously, seeing the team announced at sort of like 1:05, and I was stood with Joel at the time when you read the team out, and I was like, wow, they've gone with Jacob and they've gone with Trevor. Fair enough. But then to actually see both of you there, you look like you've played alongside Anthony O'Connor all your life, Jacob, and you look like, the one thing that I did notice, and this is again from the pair of you, you did a lot of talking, Jacob, and Trevor, you never shut up.
Yeah, I think that's one thing when the gaffer brought, well, I know myself personally anyway, he did say, maybe the team is lacking a little bit of, leadership, and, so, he wanted a bit more, people who talk and experience. So, whenever the gaffer puts that sort of, not pressure on you, but you feel obliged to maybe overcompensate. So, the lads will be sick of my voice by the end of the season, trust me.
And what about
I just think like going into the weekend, it was always going to be tough, and we were always going to have to communicate and kind of take control, especially with the gaffer not being there. There's a kind of, once you're over that white line, you've got to take responsibility for what you do and what the team does. So I think everyone on the weekend was so sharp and on it, and I think it went all right, especially first half. So I think everyone was kind of talking and communicating and leading, which is probably what we need going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, defo, and I think you're right. The gaffer has said that obviously he wants. He came on here and said he's not bothered about who the captain is. He wants 4 or 5 leaders on the pitch. So if you've both come in to sort of play that role, then that's exactly what we're looking for, really. Because it's, as you can appreciate, where we are in the league. We had a really good start, but it's been a really, really difficult. We had an unfortunate defeat at Wigan when we lost 4-3 after getting back to 3-3 at Wigan. And since then, it's been just about survival, really, because we lost a bit of form and lost a lot of confidence. And I know I'm not saying anything that nobody else would say there, am I, Joel?
Yeah, that does. I'm again sorry. That does seem to have been a bit of a turning point, that Wigan game. But been a bit of a tricky couple of months since then. But we've got to January. We still picked up a couple of good results. Obviously, that one at Doncaster being the kind of highlight of that. And then we've got a couple of reinforcements in Jacob and Trevor. So hopefully we can kick on from there and continue to keep on this little positive kind of little run of, I don't know, form you could say after the second half of the Doncaster game and the Spurs game. But take a bit of that positive momentum and keep going with it all.
And there's no new signing, but John O'Beaker's basically like a new signing, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
he's been injured. He's not played. He only just started playing, so it's almost like the January transfer window signing, even though he's been with us all season.
Yeah, and he's another one. He's another one who the longer he plays, the better he's going to get. A bit like obviously Jacob, that you get more 90 minutes under your belt, and obviously you become sort of match hardened, don't you?
Yeah, obviously the start of this, for the first half of this season, I was at Burnley, kind of playing 23s and the odd reserve game in the week. So haven't quite got that those minutes under my belt like some of the other guys have, so they can really go for 90. And on the weekend, kind of was solid for 90 minutes of the match. And I think as the next couple of weeks, I'll get those minutes in, and my fitness will obviously get better. I don't think it's fitness. I think it's more like match fitness, if you know what I mean. Like just those minutes, those 90 minutes consecutively. So, yeah.
And I suppose the mental side of it as well, being switched on for 90 plus 5 or whatever it needs to be, because it's a different set of challenges when you're actually playing for points, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I think like going into Saturday, there's obviously a lot more pressure to go and get a result there because we want to climb up the table. So we kind of have to almost be even more on it than we were on the weekend, because it's the league that we want to stay in, and the league that really matters.
And Trevor, it's a pretty similar story with you, and obviously that I know that we were keen to sign you permanently, but Dundee United were keen to keep you. So we've managed to get you on loan, but it was important for you to get playing and get minutes again, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been personally a really start season for me. I got in the Dundee United team maybe a month into the season. The lad got injured, and then I played 4 or 5 games. I played for my country, and I was feeling really good, playing well. But he came back from injury, and the manager decided to put him straight back in. So that was a bit of a kick in the you know what. So that was like sort of, and I haven't played again since, except a week before Christmas there was a COVID outbreak. So I went to Ibrox and we played away to Rangers. So I played in that. It just gave me a taste for it again. I was like, sometimes you can get your comfort zone a little bit when you're not playing every week, and not comfort zone, but you just lose your edge a little bit. And, I just felt that creeping into me, and then that Rangers game sort of gave me the taste for it again. I was like, I've got still so much to offer. I need to be playing every week. I'm not a number 2 goalkeeper. I'd rather go and play non-league every week than sit on the bench in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? So, I just spoke to the manager and up at Dundee United and just had a good, honest chat. And, I just need to get out and play football, and for the sake of my career, but for the sake of, my mental well-being as well, just to play every week, just to get that. I've been used to being a number 1 for maybe 10, 11 years, wherever I've been. So when you get that taken away from you, sort of, I found it hard to adjust. So, I just need to get out and play. And thankfully, the gaffer here has given me the opportunity. So hopefully I can repay him.
So did Robbo identify you, or he knows you from the past anyway? So did he come calling, or was it just a general inquiry, or what?
Football, a lot of it is about who you know and what you know. It's, once I spoke to Dundee United and they were, sort of willing to let me go out and get some games. Robbo was the first person I reached out to. It ticks a lot of boxes for me in terms of location. My family's in, Barnard Castle, which is only an hour up the motorway from Morecambe, and so I just reached out sort of more, on hope, because I knew you had, Morecambe with two keepers here, and so it was sort of more in hope and than expectation. But thankfully for me, it's come off, and as I say, I owe the manager a lot, for the faith he's shown in me, and I think he's worked with me long enough to know that I'll do nothing but work my arse off for him. So let's see what the next few months bring.
Hopefully, you can repay his faith. Well, I sincerely hope so. Anyway.
No, definitely.
And what about you, Jacob? How did this loan move come away from Burnley, and you ended up at Morecambe?
It was one that had been going for a while. I think in the summer, my agent said Morecambe were interested in bringing me in on loan then. So I always remembered it. So I've always watched kind of Morecambe's results and how they've been doing, because for me personally, I don't want to be playing 23s and almost too old for that now. I want to be out playing football like I was last year. So when the kind of manager texted my agent or rang my agent towards the end of December, it was kind of something I really wanted to go for as well. I think for all the parties involved, it was kind of just like the right fit.
And that's obviously you were out on loan at Scunthorpe last season, was it? Is that right?
I was there permanent. To be fair, I was there for two and a half years.
Right. Yeah. So you've had a long time at Scunthorpe. Scored an own goal at the Mazuma.
Actually, that wasn't actually me that scored it.
Was it not? It's down as yours.
It went down as mine, but it was actually another player. But it went down as mine. So now I've got
name names. We're not Scunthorpe fans. You can name names.
I think it was from a corner and it came off George Taft. It was Tafty.
Ah.
I think
it wasn't.
I was going to say they should have just given it to Lavelle, shouldn't they? Everybody's happy then, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We could have had it as a goal, but obviously Scunthorpe we're doing okay. Doing okay for a time, and obviously you must have been part of that. So were you surprised when Burnley came back in and said, "Yeah, we'll take you on"?
I wouldn't say surprised. I was obviously really happy, because I think I wanted to move on from Scunthorpe in the summer. I didn't want to stay there because I think there were just a few things in the club going on that weren't exactly great. I think going to Morecambe is how a lower league club should be run. You've got a manager who's passionate. You've got like backing from the board and stuff like that. So I knew it was time to move on. I didn't think it'd be a Burnley coming in, but they kind of wanted to. They'd seen I played a lot of games, had a lot of experience for my age, so they kind of said, "Yeah, come in and train and that for 6 months." So they didn't want me to go on loan in the summer, but they said then in January reevaluate and see where we are. And obviously when Morecambe came in, League One's obviously a really good standard, especially with some of the teams in there this year. So it's going to be really good competitive matches for me. So I'm just looking forward to getting into them. Yeah.
And you've got some good company in Burnley. Obviously, Adam Phillips is on loan. And I don't know if you know, but we managed to pinch Ryan Cooney off him as well in the summer, which was a big surprise for all of us, because we thought we were trying to get him back on loan. So Burnley have actually been, A, quite good to us, and B, the lads we've had have been very successful. So fingers crossed you can carry that on.
Yeah, I think obviously Philo and Cooney spoke really highly of Morecambe when I've asked them. And I knew Cooney from when he was at Bury way back. We both started out there. So yeah, they're two good players, and I think there's obviously quite a good connection between Burnley and Morecambe. So
yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So coming to Trevor now. Obviously, you've done quite a lot. You've moved around quite a lot, haven't you, Trev?
Oh yeah, I've been up and down the country, and yeah, I guess that was, not getting too deep into my personal life, but in terms of, my kids are at an age now where, I don't think it's fair on them moving them all about the country anymore, and so we've got our base down in Barnard Castle now, which, as I say, is only an hour down the road to Morecambe, so it's, so football's sort of going to work around family life now, because for too long it's been the opposite way around, and and I think, I know just being home now for 10 days, it's, there's a lot to be said for being at home and around your family. And, I've been up at Dundee on my own 4 or 5 nights a week and travelling back down to see the family. And, that's definitely played a major part. So, I'm not looking too far beyond, but, it's definitely, if something could happen beyond this 6 months, but, the sort of the ball's in my court in terms of coming and pressing, and then we'll cross that bridge when it comes.
So when you were setting off from Dundee, were you saying were you going for just to test your eyes when you were going to Barnard Castle?
Well, no, I didn't get stopped, thankfully, but that was going to be my excuse. Yeah.
Sorry, when you said Barnard Castle, I had to get that one in, obviously.
Oh, definitely, I know.
Had to be done. Couldn't miss
Yeah,
out.
you see people coming to get this every time you drive past the sign. The Barnard, there's people tourists getting their picture taken on it.
Yeah,
it didn't help. It didn't help us when we were trying to buy a house here, but 3-4 months ago, I think the house prices have just skyrocketed. And genuinely, so yeah.
Yeah, there must be a really good optometrist there, from what I hear.
Apparently so.
So I'll now pass you on to our investigator here in Joel, who's always have some good questions for the pair of you, I hope.
Yeah, go on. I'll start with Trevor then. Obviously, earlier in your career, you've had a couple of relegations with Hartlepool and Cheltenham, but I think
cheers for bringing that up.
Yeah, sorry, but I've got a caveat because obviously at both clubs you won Player of the Year, so I think.
Oh, he's rescued that. He's rescued.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I've
come prepared. Don't worry. I've played a little backup good cop in at the moment there, haven't I? And you obviously get the move to Motherwell from Hartlepool, but obviously having gone through these experiences and now coming into a relegation fight here, what do you kind of think you've learned from those two experiences?
The big thing, not even coming into a relegation fight here, I think after especially the Hartlepool one, I've taken it in. Even when I went to Motherwell, I think my whole mindset changed in terms of just football is that much of a roller coaster. You can't get too high when things are going good, or you can't get too low. But when things are going bad, you just have to find that consistency, because when you're doing well, it's got a habit of biting you in the butt. When you're doing bad, it's so easily. I've seen it in change rooms, especially the two relegations I had. Looking back. We let it creep into the change room. It was a miserable place to be around. It was, we went through 4 or 5 different managers in the season. The 2 relegations I had were carbon copy of each other. I think we went through 3 or 4 different managers, the most players in the league. We just didn't have that consistency. And, I think when I come in here, at Morecambe, hopefully I can pass that on that, yes, we do. It's a massive game on Saturday. We all want to win it. We all believe we're going to win it. But, if we don't win it, we're not relegated. You know what I mean? So it's important that when we come in Monday morning again, it's, you've got a different game. You've got a game on Tuesday, and you can't dwell on the last result. In the same sense, if we're winning Saturday, we can't get complacent and, think we've cracked it, because, as I say, football's got a habit of, bringing you straight back down to earth. So I think that's a big thing, just the consistency in terms of mindset and mentality, and the same approach to training every day and the same approach to every game.
So kind of going to the other end of the scale now, obviously when you were at Motherwell, you had a couple of really good cup runs to finals, which obviously would have been great occasions. So when you kind of go into those big games that, 2 cup finals, they're pretty much some of the biggest you can get around, how do you kind of handle the pressure of playing in those games?
I'm personally, anyway, I've never had nerves getting into a game. You know, even Sunday, you know, Tottenham. Like don't get nervous. But in terms of pressure, I guess the only type of pressure I put myself on is about letting people down. You know, like that's the only sort of sense. But when you're in a cup final with Motherwell, like really, you're not letting anyone down, are you? No matter what happens, you know you've exceeded expectations already just by being there. But you know, I look back in both cup finals, and you know, I wish, if anything, I had took it in a bit more. You know, I don't have much recollection of them. It's sort of a blur to me, to be honest. And I think coming away from them, you know, even on Sunday, I took the stadium in a lot more than what I would have maybe 2-3 years ago, because what I've been through, you know, with my illness and stuff like that. You know, football's a short career, so you know, you got to take these moments in. But yeah, but in terms of pressure and stuff, honestly, it's just, I think, you know, for me, playing that game on Sunday, it was a perfect first game for me, because, you know, it's a beautiful stadium. And I feel like I sort of thrive on occasions like that. And, you know, it was similar in the cup finals, and, you know, just a great occasion to be part of.
So you've touched on it a little bit there, but I was going to ask you about your illness. Obviously, deep vein thrombosis. Obviously, it's a biggie. You know, it's not like a bad leg injury or anything. It's quite a big one. So, kind of getting that diagnosis and then kind of taking that in, and then having the long recovery period. What was that like, going through that experience?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock. Obviously, at the time, it probably didn't hit me until probably after, you know, I was on medication for 6 months, so I couldn't train, like couldn't do anything like contact sport. So I don't think it was until after, you know, the 6 months when I was back training, I started getting a bit of anxiety and stuff about, you know, I think it actually hit me, the sort of seriousness of what I'd been through, and I was going back to train. I started having, you know, worrying about, but at the time it was just, you know, I seen it as like, I probably didn't see the magnitude of it and how lucky I actually was. You know, you know, it could have been a lot worse. I think we just got it in time, and you know, if it had been on maybe a day, 2 days later, you know, it would have been a lot different. So, you know, in that sense, it was sort of, yeah, it was probably just, I don't know, you just feel when you, not that I'm young, but you know, at this age, you feel invincible to stuff like that. But whenever it actually happens, you know, looking back now, you know, it was very, very lucky. Yeah.
Joel, have you got any motivational questions for him? Are you going to make him feel really, really
down? No, he's
done
done
Saturday, the first league game, really depressing him.
Yeah.
Just bring it.
No, yeah, cool.
Yeah. Well, on a slightly merrier note then, obviously you got a good relationship with Stephen Robinson. So kind of, was it your first, when he kind of initially took you to Motherwell, was that the first time you kind of met him?
No, I'd been, the gaffer had been assistant manager with Northern Ireland for a couple of years under Michael O'Neill, and I'd been in a few squads with him, and you know, always liked the way he worked, the intensity he works at, and you know, at Motherwell again, very grateful at the time, because we had obviously, as you mentioned, about 100 times we get relegated in the League Two and the National League. So, you know, the thought of going and playing National League at the time was a bit, and to be fair, the gaffer come in, took me up to Motherwell for a massive sum of 10 grand, which he always reminds me of, and so you know, I was delighted to get up there, and you know, the job he done up there was incredible. Quite similar circumstances to, you know, what we've got at Morecambe in terms of, you know, not the highest budget in the league, but you know, one thing the gaffer's brilliant at is, you know, trying to be the best at things that you don't need money for. You know, the fittest, you know, the best team spirit, you know, the best organised, and he's always, you know, had that mindset at Motherwell, and you know, we always went above and beyond. You know, you go into every game, you know exactly what the opposition are about, you know exactly what job he wants you to do, and you know, as I say, when you're at a Morecambe playing in League One, you know, probably 90% of the other teams have a higher budget. You know, things like that are so important. So that's why, you know, no, like I wouldn't have come here if I thought it was doom and gloom and Morecambe had no chance to stay up, you know, because personally, I don't want another relegation on my CV, do you know what I mean? But knowing that the gaffer's here, and, you know, I know we're in good hands, and I know we've got every opportunity of, you know, stemming this league.
Yeah, I appreciate you answering my my questions quite honestly and openly.
Jacob's now thinking, oh my God, what's he going to ask me?
What was going to come? Well, Obviously, Jacob, you made your debut at 16, I think it was. So, what was that like to kind of make your debut at such a young age?
Yeah, it was obviously quite surreal. Looking back now, I think at the time I didn't really take any of it in. But it was such a great experience at such a young age. I think I played 7 games for Bury. I think the first one I came on at half time, we went 2-0 up, and then we got a man sent off, and Millwall came back and beat us 3-2 at our place, and all their fans were running on the pitch. So I think it was quite a memorable game for my first game. Yeah. So.
I think when I was 16, if I'd been in that situation, I had a load of Millwall fans running the pitch. Oh God, I would have probably run pretty fast in the opposite direction. But obviously, I think I can't remember if it was the end of that first season or the second season, but at quite a young age, you get bought by Aston Villa for quite a large price tag. Now, obviously, at that age, is that something that you kind of take notice of, that kind of price tag that they kind of chuck on you? Does that affect you in any way?
No, it didn't affect me, to be honest. It was in the January 2017, I think, when I went to Villa, and obviously I was really delighted and happy, and I thought I'm going to be a superstar now. Do you know what I mean? But I still worked hard and still kind of kept going and going. But I think at Villa at the time, they were in the Championship, so they were bringing in any sort of player to try and get them back to the Premier League. I think we had when I was there, maybe 11 or 12 centre halves in the first team. So it was one of those where, is there a pathway here? Probably not. So I made the decision to go to Scunthorpe.
So obviously going to Scunthorpe and from Villa, and then obviously going to Burnley afterwards, you've had quite a bit of a fair share of under-23s football, but also kind of men's football down the lower leagues. What would you say the kind of the main differences for you as a defender in those situations?
I think 23s football, everything's a little bit more on the floor, and obviously I'm in a 23s game. I'm probably the biggest player on the pitch, whereas in a League 2 game, you've got some giants. Like every other week, you've got a 6'5" striker to try and deal with. So, and obviously in League 2, the football's a lot more direct. So I think there's challenges with both sides. But I'd probably say league football's a lot more hard hitting and strenuous on a player, which is probably why it's better to play at a young age.
How does it feel to not play for a team that wears claret and blue?
I'm quite happy, to be fair. I was a bit sick of claret and blue, so. And I think the red kit and then the black away kit's really nice. So I'm looking forward to putting that one on, to be fair.
Is that how the club was sold to you? We're not claret and blue, and we've got a really nice black away kit.
Yeah. So once a manager said that, I was all in. Yeah.
Sold. And just finally, obviously, going into Spurs on Sunday, and I suppose it extends to Trevor as well. You are just obviously you've seen him in training, but not for too many days beforehand. So does that? How do you kind of bed yourself in with a group of people in the defence kind of that quickly?
I don't think it was too hard, to be fair. I think we did a lot of work in the week about how we were going to play and that, and with people like Ant in the team, and obviously Trevor's got so much experience, and I played with Greg before. I know Cooney, so I didn't feel like I didn't know the players I was playing with. So it was quite an easy fit, I think.
I suppose from your perspective, Trev, have you played with any of the other players before?
I've played with Ryan McLaughlin at international level, but the other lads know. But I can only echo what Jacob said in terms to me it just seemed it was seamless transition, and maybe a game like Spurs away, probably maybe the perfect game if you're bringing 2 new players in the back 5, back 6. It's probably because you're playing a lot tighter together, and the spaces aren't as big, and you're probably, that focus is probably 10, 20 times higher than what it would be, for example, if it was a league game. But because you've got that defensive mindset. You've got, you're going to Spurs, you're going to be sat in. So as a back five, back six, I think probably was a perfect game. And to me, it didn't seem any, as Jacob said, we've done a lot of defensive work leading up to the game. So, them 3-4 days working together, I definitely felt confident going into the game that, there wouldn't be an issue.
That's great. Thanks very much, guys. Very interesting.
No worries. Thanks, Joe.
Just as an aside, and this is something that I look back at the goals we've scored. We're never going to score from a corner ever again because that corner's worked 3 times now, and because it was on national TV, it was on Match of the Day. It's been repeated on every national news, and I'm like, God, we'll never.
Chelsea did it last night.
What?
Yeah.
Chelsea copied our move last night.
They did, yeah. They did.
It was Rudiger on Tanganga.
It was Rudiger on Tanganga again, yeah. But we've scored exactly the same corner where everybody runs to the front post and somebody runs just beyond the penalty spot, and it's worked every single time. So that's that knackered now. So
especially since you've just explained it on the podcast.
I know, but it's all right because only more can people listen to this. And if Robbo and Dermot listen, because they're usually on it, Trevor and Jeppe can tell them anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, we'll mix it up for the weekend. We'll mix it up.
Yeah, you watch. We'll do it again. We'll do it again, and it'll work.
Hopefully, yeah.
Silly old Wimbledon. So, talk us through it, Charlie. Your day. I tried to ask you this before, but you ignored my answer. Obviously, who did you sit next to, and what was your treatment like at Spurs on Saturday?
So it's Arnie on one side, Graham Howes on the other. He was crying most of the match. And next double one was Mr. Levy. And
so he had a first light thunder for 74 minutes.
He wasn't happy at all, but I think he was happy when the magical trio were lined up. And I think James took a really good photo. A lot of people have stolen on social media of the 3 guys coming on, but he wasn't particularly happy. They were very welcoming. We had a nice time, but there was no gravy or pies in the director's box. It was very disappointing. So I'd much rather be in the.
Well, was the mushy peas?
It was mushy peas, yeah, which is interesting.
Mushy peas with what?
Fish and chips.
Oh right. Oh, I'll let you off then. Yeah. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Because when I saw your tweet that said no pies, but we had mushy peas, and I was thinking,
can't get them all Freez, but it was a really good day. But just looking at the concourse singing of "Top Doesn't Get Battered Everywhere They Go," every single fan singing, it was really good. But
I've got about a minute and 20 seconds of that because I just went and I thought a couple of my mates said, "Are you coming for a beer?" And I said no because I'll end up going to the loo second half. So I'll go to the loo now. And I ended up.
You'll be good on Sunday, right? On Saturday, big game Wimbledon. I've got 34 junior away fans coming from Arnie's football team.
Oh, brilliant!
In the away end, I'll be sitting in the away end, singing "Trying to Get Battered Everywhere They Go," which would be good. And no prawn sandwiches for me on Saturday.
No, good lad. Well, enjoy it. So, strangely, I'll move on now to chatting about. We've got the Wombles on Saturday. Obviously, Jacob's been keeping an eye on results. I don't expect that Trevor has before he's arrived, but we had a right ding-dong-do with Wimbledon at home.
4-3, wasn't it?
4-3. It could have gone either way. It was a fantastic game, but they scored with an absolutely tremendous volley from out edge of the D that absolutely flew in the top corner. And they had about 250 fans there who went mental. But at the time, it was just a typical League One game, wasn't it, Joel, for us? Because it was all everybody. We had a goal, they had a go.
Yeah, I mean, their winner wasn't even the best goal of the game, actually, was it?
It wasn't.
We had Stockton scoring what we thought would be goal of the season, but actually isn't going to be goal of the season after what he did at Fleetwood. But I mean that game was really hectic. I just what was it? It was 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2 to us, then ended 4-3 to them. It was just all over the place. So hopefully it'll be a bit easier on the heart this one because after Doncaster, I'm not sure how much more I can take.
No, true enough. But looking at the challenges, Wimbledon surprised us that day because they had some really good combative midfielders and quite a lot of pace up front, where we were expecting perhaps a little bit more direct, weren't we?
Yeah, I think they could have combined the two quite nicely. They knocked it round a little bit, but then they could hit it long up to Ollie Palmer, I think it was.
Yeah, and they pressed quite high.
got a couple of good wingers. I think the lad who scored the winner was good. I think there was, I can't remember what he's called, the lad who set up the second or third goal when he crossed it, beat a couple of players. They've got some good players, but they have been a bit of a slump recently. I think, they're right in the mix with us. If we beat them, we go ahead of them on points in the table. So, there's opportunities there. It's just, we'll just have to see how it goes against them, really. But, I think with Jacob and Trevor, I'm feeling more confident than previous.
Yeah, I think probably you've set yourself up there, guys, because you came to us before the biggest game of the season, and for 74 minutes playing out of your skins, and all of a sudden people's expectations are rising. So how are you going to meet that?
Oh, that's our job, isn't it? So I'd rather that than to think we're hopeless. So
yeah, true. Good point. Didn't think of it like that. See, I was trying to be positive, but there you go. And then following on from that, we've got Wigan Athletic at home now. Wigan Athletic are very much similar to ourselves, signed a load of players at the start of the season after a takeover where they have got plenty of money. And they've made some really quality signings. They've played really well all season. That's going to be a toughie, isn't it, Joel?
Yeah, they just signed Josh McGuinness earlier today. So, it's a tough game, but, that's part of the joy of playing in this league. At the end of the day, they are tough games, but you want to play against these kind of bigger sides, and you've got bringing these good players in and test yourself against them, and cause a few upsets. We had Sheffield Wednesday earlier in the season, when they had Barry Bannon and people like that. So, that's the joy of being in this league, testing yourself against these teams and hopefully causing a few upsets, like hopefully we will be able to do on Tuesday.
And so, from a team point of view, you two guys have come in. Are we concentrating mainly on Wimbledon until Saturday? Because then, obviously, there's not much of a turnaround before we're playing Wigan Tuesday night. Have we done anything on Wigan yet, or is it just all Wombles?
Go on, Jacob.
I think we're just taking every game as it comes. You can't look too far ahead, I don't think. Playing football, we've got to go to Wimbledon and try to get a result on the weekend, and then our focus shifts to Wigan on the Tuesday. And the work the manager does, it's all kind of, there's specifics about playing against one team, but then there's a general idea, and it's that general idea that kind of is the base of how we're going to play anyway. So we're always working on that, I think.
So really, we're concentrating on the Wombles, which is the answer that we wanted. Charlie, you said you're taking how many was it? 35?
34, yeah.
34. Well, we've sold 150 tickets already, so we're going to have probably over.
We've pretty much filled it out, yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking forward to it. We haven't played Wimbledon we've obviously never been in League One before, but we've played them in League Two. But they've obviously 4 or 5 years ahead of us, aren't they, of surviving in League One, doing a good job on a low budget. Really nice people. Mark Roberts is a great guy. When they came up for the original game, and we were travelling back and the train broke down, and there's loads of drunk football fans from all over the country getting down to London. And my Parkinson's medication ran out, so I was in a bit of trouble, and he invited us into their carriage to sit with them all the way back.
Oh, nice.
Which was really nice of him. And I was with my son's friends who were Wimbledon fans. They were loving it. But they're really great people, but we want to beat them. Yeah,
of course we do. And just while we're talking about Wimbledon, I was reading an article, it was last Friday, I can't remember if it was the Independent Online or it might have been the Tory Graph. And they mentioned, obviously they mentioned Morecambe playing Tottenham. And they mentioned us as one of 2 Football League teams who've never been relegated. And the other one was Wimbledon FC. And I started laughing, going, no, hang on. Wimbledon FC have been relegated. And so I started looking, and it was like, yeah, they claim they've never been relegated, but they also claim they've won the FA Cup. So I'm like, well, you can't have it both ways, because if that Wimbledon won the FA Cup, that Wimbledon got relegated. So I just some strange fact that I came across. It's usually Joel that comes out with these, but there you go.
Funny enough, I've actually been discussing this in a group chat just before the podcast. So
really,
there we go.
So you noticed the same thing?
Yeah, it was pointed out by a couple of people on the Shrimps Trust board.
I was like,
so,
you can't have it both ways. But anyway,
no.
I'll move on. So, Charlie, I'll come back to you. we're hoping there's a bit more work been done on the behind the goals on the Barty card. Is that right?
Yeah, behind the goal, and Martin Ford's doing a great job as head of recruitment. I was on the other week. We've got trying to sign some extra reinforcements as well in the coming days. And I don't want to say the wrong thing. Something got signed yesterday for a current squad member. I don't think it's been announced yet. I'll tell you guys afterwards.
Is it Connor Pye, because he's just been announced on Twitter?
All right, yeah, it's Connor Pye. Yeah.
just to set you at ease there.
Great name. Obviously, Pye's a fantastic name. Lots of affiliation with that, but he's doing really, really well. So I think we signed a 4-year contract or 3-year contract.
Yeah, that's good.
He's great. So that's really good to see the academy coming through. So all the family, Morecambe family coming together is working really well. Wish Connor all the best, and hopefully they'll be as good as Trevor and Jacob.
I sincerely hope so. That's based on 75 minutes and 90 minutes. Obviously, we can judge it as you play longer. So, have you got anything for the trust, Joel, or are we all quiet on the Western Front? Obviously, they've just announced there's coaches to Accrington and Bolton. Is that right?
Yeah, so we've still got those going. Obviously, just keep an eye online for any other the trips. We've got a ticket portal as well, which will make things a bit easier. I think obviously we had a load of schemes over Christmas, so there's a little bit of a lull after that. But we've got the calendar coming out, so you can just email in if you want.
You Mr. January or Mr. February?
I know. What do you think?
No, yeah, I like the shirt.
Yeah,
I think it's probably pictures of players. Call me old-fashioned, but you know.
I know. Yeah,
The final point I would make, Freez, though, is that something Trevor said about the relegation zones, relegation structures, when it went negative in the dressing room. I think the last 2 games can really get lots of confidence going, and we can think back on those performances and really, really push on, and really, really go attack the season as a club, fans, board of directors, and everyone together. And really look positively. There will be. I'm sure there'll be some bad results along the way, but we just got to keep positive and remember what we're capable of.
Yeah, that's right.
It's Sunday, by the way, Freez, not Saturday. You did say Saturday.
Yeah. There's going to be bumps in the road. We know that. But I mean, generally, most of the fans, other than the sort of crew at home, when quite a few people were like, "Ooh," which is understandable, which was a poor performance, but. Looking at take heart from the Spurs game, take heart from beating Doncaster 4-3, and obviously I always try and finish on a positive. Take heart from taking 3 points off Wimbledon and hopefully getting something out of the Wigan game, because you've got to be positive, haven't you, guys?
Yeah, 100%.
So thank you very, very much. Welcome to Morecambe FC. You can now go into the dressing rooms tomorrow and say, "That's it. I'm no longer a virgin on the podcasts because I've done my bit." And so it's somebody else's turn next week, because there are
Ryan and Jonah have signed up.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
and Jonah.
Yeah, for next week, and they're both. So you've beaten them to it because they've not been on yet. So you want to learn with Ryan and Jonah saying, "Oi, get on next week and entertain." So thank you very much, Jacob. Thank you, Trevor. Charlie, as ever, brilliant job. Joel, again, thought of questions that I could never think of. Keep your fingers crossed for a great performance and hopefully a positive result down at the new Plough Lane, which obviously we haven't mentioned, but that'll be nice to be down there, Charlie. And hopefully you've enjoyed this. This has been ShrimpsNet, the Shrimp Stuff podcast. We'll be back next Thursday to speak about those fantastic 6 points we've earned. Have a good day.